Now, the Foreign Secretary, Dominic Raab, has announced the allocation of £8 billion of foreign aid after a decision was made to cut the budget by almost one-third. He said the government wants to focus on issues like climate change, poverty reduction and girls' education. But charities say the world's poorest people will suffer because of these cuts. Well, joining me now is Girish Menon from STiR Education, an international organisation that supports education systems in India and Uganda. Very good evening to you, Girish Menon. Now, tell us what's happened to your funding. How much was it and how much of it's gone?
Thank you, Dermot, for the opportunity. We should have had another £828,000 from the UK government for the period from April 2001 to June 2022. That entire amount has been cut, and that represents half of our budget for the country of Uganda that we have. And thanks to some of the other donors, we're able to keep some of the other programs going, but the entire program that was supported by the FCDO has been cut.
And how were you told? How were you informed about it?
We got a call from somebody in the FCDO Kampala, Uganda office on the 2nd of March. It was just a phone call, and that's the only verbal communication we have had. We still haven't received any official or formal communication from the FCDO, and we were told we were not in a position to disclose or discuss this with anybody.
What do you mean, not in a position? Were you gagged?
Well, that could be the implication, but we were basically told that this is not something that we could discuss. So even though we work very closely in partnership with the government of Uganda, till date, we have not yet been able to go back to the government of Uganda and tell them, sorry, the budget for the primary education program that we were working in partnership with you has been cut. So it's not a problem of STiR Education, which is my organization, but it's because the STiR Education contract that we had with the FCDO through a consortium that we were part of has been cut.
So very short notice, you weren't allowed to talk about it and you haven't been formally informed by Whitehall. I mean, what kind of implications can you draw from that the government's rather embarrassed about it?
Well, for us, the implication is absolutely devastating. We have no idea the basis on which this decision was taken. We have no idea on the rationale. We have had no formal conversations. So all that was left for us to do, because there was no other recourse, was to quickly go back to the drawing board, look at our plans, scale back our programs, cut costs, make some staff redundant, and go back to our other donors, both UK-based and others based in Europe and America, with a begging bowl and say, can we have some more, please?
And all at short notice. And I'm guessing then, Mr. Menon, you know, you're a stripped down organisation. You don't want to waste money on administration that could be spent on helping people. This has chewed up a lot of management time.
It's chewed up a massive amount of management time, not to talk about the motivation and morale of staff, who see this as a huge disappointment, because this is a program that we work in partnership with the government of Uganda. It's a program for 5 years. We are into our 4th year. And just as you come to the conclusion of the program, the last 15 months grant is cut with just 3 weeks notice and no reason, no formal communication at all. And now being forced to go back to the drawing board and look at all the other options that we have in such a short period of time.
And just tell us a bit more detail about the work you do and, you know, to fit it into the parameters of the Foreign Secretary's statement today when he emphasised how important education is to the Foreign and Commonwealth and Development Office.
I'm pleased to hear that the Foreign Secretary has continued to prioritize girls' education. We, as an education organization, would absolutely welcome that. But our program is also about education, working with the entire education system across primary and secondary education. Our program is across 60,000 schools, of which the primary schools themselves are 3,500 schools. Working with 46,000 teachers, reaching out to 1.84 million children in the primary levels. That's the program that has been cut. So this program that goes across 30 districts, or 39 districts to be more accurate, is now at a very severe risk of not being able to be implemented just because we don't have the resources. So if we're able to do that, it'll be a massively scaled back version. So it's a bit ironical that on one hand, we talk about the priority for education. We also talk about building back better and supporting countries and economies, particularly in the developing world. And yet these are the programs, the kinds of programs that are cut. It's a case of balancing the books on the backs of the poor and marginalized.
Well, Girish Menon, best of luck with your fine work. Thank you very much indeed for talking to us here on Sky News tonight.
Thank you very much.
And now time for a quick look at the weather for you.